We are now moving into another section, which is going to be covering some more filtering options as well as legends, which we haven't looked at. And legends, basically the color coding that we use for some graphics, and then how to control that in your dashboard. And before we get to that, I'm going to show you a little feature about managing your sheets before we get into it, because we have now created a lot of sheets, a lot of things to be playing around with, and I kind of want to clear this up and go again from scratch. And there's a few views that we can use. If I go down here to the bottom, right, you're going to see these three buttons, right? The first one lets you see every single sheet and every dashboard that you have, much like PowerPoint does. The next one shows a preview thumbnail for each sheet, and then the last one is the view that you have before you. Let's get out of this, and I'm going to show you each one. Let's start with this middle one. As you can see, we now have each of the sheets. So you can have a little bit of a preview before you go into it. And that's pretty useful because sometimes I have sheets like this and I'm like, what's in this one again? Even if I have a name for it. So if I have category sub, right, I may not remember what's in it. Whereas if I go into this view, I can have an idea. It's like, oh, I remember what's in that one. Okay, and it's kind of a little bit more organized. The first one, if we go to this one here, shows all of them like this. And what I like about this one is I can actually reorganize them simply by clicking and dragging so that I can, have a better flow of what I'm looking at, right? Let's go back to the first one. So that's tip number one. The second tip is this. We've created a number of dashboards that have been combined, right? And this one, for example, is made up of, maybe I'll pick this one, right? This one's made up of two dashboards. If I click this button here, this go to sheet button, right? I'm going to change this back to red, right? If I click this one, it takes me back to the relevant sheet. And that's really useful because sometimes your graphics all look the same and you're modifying a bar chart that's actually for something else simply because they look the same. So what I usually do is if I'm modifying a dashboard, I use this button to go to the correct sheet that I've been using, okay? Then what you're going to notice is if you've used a sheet in a dashboard, let's say sheet 5, right? I'm going to color code this, color red, right? And I'm going to find this one as well. So activate, go to sheet, right? So it's these two, right? Red. And this sheet 4, I'm not using for anything. It's empty. So let me show you something. If I right click on this sheet 4, you're going to see the word delete. If I right click on sheet 5, you're not going to see delete. Instead, you're going to see hide. And the reason for this is Tableau wants to protect you from accidentally deleting something you're already using. So the only way to delete it is to get rid of the dashboard first. If I delete this one, delete, and I go back to sheet 5, I can now remove it. So it's a little bit of a precaution because I know in Microsoft Excel you could have multiple sheets connected to each other by formulas and you can delete whatever you want, and then suddenly your formulas don't work and there's no way to bring back the sheet unless you have a backup file, or that's pretty much it, unless you have a backup file, right? Or you can regenerate that information. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these, right? I can also do this from this menu. If I click this first one down here, right, we go back to that view. I can delete it from here. Delete. I can rename things from here. Just double, oops, sorry. Let's go back. Right click, rename, right? I can do it from here. I tend to use this for mapping like a storyboard or a set of dashboards to see that it flows. Or if I want to show someone, listen, I've built this dashboard for you. What do you think? And it's a great way for us to see the whole thing, right? So let's go ahead and keep clearing these out. Delete, delete. Yeah, we don't need that. Delete, delete. See, this one says hide, which means I'm using it somewhere. Oops, what did I just press? Nope. Right? So we'll keep that one for a second. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this and like this. Right? Dashboard 1 we don't need. Let's get rid of that. Right? And these three, because there's no dashboards left, I know that none of these are being used. So what I can do, if you want to do multiple deletes, you can hold shift on your keyboard, right? And click the very last one. So that clicks a range of them and you can go, well, I can't delete because you need to have at least one sheet. So if let's say this is our main one, and I want to delete these three by holding shift, now I can delete. Okay, because you always have to have at least one sheet there. I can select them individually by holding control. So that one, that one, that one, I can deselect if I need to, right? So it's a nice little way of clearing up your information. Okay, so we are back to the basics. We're going to cut it there, and following this episode, if you will, we're going to look into filters and legends. See you soon.